Hey, what's up? Nick Ken. This is Live, Laugh, and Love. Today we're going to make Alaskan king crab bisque. Okay, first we're going to clean, dice, and carrot and onion. Okay, I'm sure you guys have seen me do this in a few videos. Basically, I take all the scraps from any celery, carrots, or onions that I cut. Even these, sorry, the onions are getting me. Even these, and I just throw it all in a Ziploc bag and I throw it in the freezer. Then when I make a soup or a broth, I use this to make the stock. I'll show that in another video. Now I just want to take this thyme off the little sticks. Just grab it at the tip and pull it backwards. That's it. If you get a little stick in there once in a while, it's okay. It's pretty soft. When you cook it, it doesn't bother it too much. Alright, now we just gotta get the oil going. Enough olive oil to cover the bottom of the pan. I got dual pots here going because I'm making some of this for work, some for home. Okay, so we're just gonna put this on a medium heat and then we're gonna saute onions, carrots, and celery for about 5 minutes. When you chop these, it doesn't have to be perfect because in the end we're gonna puree this. So you just want it relatively close so they cook evenly. Now with this many vegetables, you're probably going to be more than 5 minutes. Salt, pepper, okay, so in the bottom of the pan you can start to see there's a little bit of color or caramelization, and that's actually not what we want. We just want to saute this. I had the flame up a little bit too high. So you just turn it down and correct it. Just make sure you're watching it so that doesn't happen. Remember, we got to get these vegetables soft enough to puree. You don't want it, otherwise it'll be gritty in the bisque. And we don't really want any grit. Like my cute little pot holder, is that not? Hi, I'm the cutest little pot holder. Stupid. So how do you tell if they're ready? Grab one of the thicker pieces, like a carrot, stick your fork in it. See how hard that is to get in there? It's nowhere near where we need it to be. Now's a good time to taste it. Although it's not done, we'll still be able to get a good idea of where we are salt and pepper wise. Needs more salt, more pepper. As far as the salt goes, I like to be able to take a bite and just wait a minute. And if you feel a very slight amount of salt, that's the perfect amount of salt. If you don't taste any salt, you know you need more salt.
A few moments later.
Alright, we'll try this again. So, see how soft that goes in? It's almost falling apart. Perfect. Now is the next step. We're going to add the garlic. It's going to be about 3 tablespoons. And then our thyme. Now with this recipe, you want about a ½ cup of flour. I like tripled the recipe, so I'm adding more. Now I'm going to turn the heat down to a low because it'll be quick. You don't want to burn the roux. If you brown the flour a little bit, it'll give it a nice flavor, like a gravy almost. But it's not what we're going for today. But if it happens, it happens. It's an incredibly thick roux. So we need the flour to cook probably 2 to 3 minutes. Keep mixing it. It's going to start to look like a paste, a chunky paste. Normally you're going to use 3 cups of stock, but as I said, I'm making a bigger batch, so I'm going to use a lot more. And here's where you can turn the heat up, back to medium after the flour's at a few minutes to cook, and slowly add the stock. Just a little bit at a time. Should give a little base to work with, and then you'll be mixing this and the flour will absorb it right up. That's okay. Give it another minute or two. Do it again. Whew. Smells good. Now, in order to find out if you need more stock, you gotta let it come to a boil. This obviously needs more because it's super dry. I'm gonna put a lot more in there because we put a lot of flour in there. About half for now. So what'll happen is you'll put stock in and you'll be like, oh no, there's too much in there. Oh, I ruined it. But then it'll come to a boil and it'll get super thick again, and then you gotta add more. So that's why you wanna add a little bit at a time so you don't overdo it. You can always add more, but once you add too much, it's hard to reverse that. Do this, you can see right there, it's bubbling already, it's super thick, it needs more. Now we don't want it to be as thin as a soup, it's a bisque. It's gonna be creamy, but that's just way too thick, and we expected this. Now this is what I was talking about, see it looks too soupy, but once it comes to a boil, it should change. Now when it's not super hot like this, it would be a good time to go in, taste test it, see if it needs salt. It could use a little bit. I also didn't taste any of the pepper yet, so I'm gonna add quite a bit more pepper. This is actually gonna have a pretty good kick to it. We're gonna add cayenne pepper towards the end when we add the cream, and it's gonna add a subtle kick at the very end. So you'll take 3 or 4 spoonfuls before you realize there's any kick. Very subtle. Now it's rolling at a full boil just about, and this is when you can tell if you can put more broth in it or no. It's getting quite thick, so I'm gonna say yes, but we're gonna be careful because we don't want to overdo it. Still looks very thick and creamy, see that? It kind of moves slower than water, if that makes any sense. Right here is where you can see how it's starting to thin, and it's at a full boil. So I know if we add any more seafood stock, there's a good possibility we're gonna ruin this bisque and make it too watery. Then you'd have to cook it down, it takes longer, we're not gonna do that. So I'm just gonna turn it off. And now the reason it doesn't matter so much about the size, we're gonna use a stick blender. If you don't have one of these, just use your regular blender. If you don't have one of those, get one. Okay, now you add about 1.5 cups of heavy cream. The recipe tells you to do it at room temperature and serve immediately. I can't do that. So naturally, I'm making a bigger recipe, so I'm gonna add more. And then you're gonna add the cayenne pepper. What you really want this to look is a little blonde. So that, see how that's blonde? That changed color? That's what you want. Any more, it'll be too much. Fat from the cream makes it a little good. And this is easy to go way overboard. So this is just cayenne pepper. I just add like maybe a teaspoon at a time. Mix it up, taste it. Teaspoon, mix it up, taste it. You don't even want to taste it the first spoonful. You want to be able to taste it in the second or third spoonful. So it has very subtle heat, and especially if you're feeding it to a crowd. Even the most shy of people with temperature will like it if it takes 2 to 3 teaspoons or spoonsfuls to feel a little bit of the heat. This just needed a little more salt. I took care of that. Just gonna add these now. Langostino lobster tails. Again, you can add shrimp. You can add anything that you want. I just picked these because they're seafood and they're cheaper. You could probably do it with mussels if you really wanted to. I would just recommend that you shell them first. I'm just gonna mix that up. Now these were already cooked. Obviously, if you got an uncooked shrimp, you'd follow the instructions to cook the shrimp. There you go. Oh, it's so good. Mmm. 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 Is that hand shucked?